Hello, world, and welcome back to the World Unwrapped with Chase and Josh. What's up, man?
Jazz hands, that's what's up. Not much, man. I'm super excited about this. We have a awesome guest today, and I'm really looking forward to getting into this interview.
That's right. It's been too long since we had a guest.
It has.
Yeah.
We're actually going to have a meaningful conversation today instead of us just sitting around talking nonsense.
So our guest is Dr. Rick Sperling. He's written his second book, I Wish I Had Done More, Inspirational Influences and Experiences During 40 Years in Teaching. This was a great interview.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure to have him here.
It is. It is. We hope y'all enjoy. Hello, everyone. Before we get into today's episode, I want to introduce you to not the sponsor of today's episode, but the ruiner of today's episode, Mr. Kitty. Mr. Kitty loves to spend time in my podcast studio and walk on my desk. He loves to spend time laying on my audio interface, and what he has done has somehow managed to unplug the microphone that our guest was using. I did not know this at the time of recording this episode, so I apologize for the audio in this. I want to bring you all you're going to have to wait. I want to bring you all the best content I possibly can, even if Mr. Kitty doesn't think you deserve it. Again, sorry for the bad audio. Now I know to check all of my audio connections before every episode.
All right, Rick, you've spent your entire career in teaching, coaching, and education administration. Why don't you start at the beginning, take us through your early life and kind of what gave you a passion for this field?
That 40 years.
40 years.
40 years of education field. And, I've been 32 in Mitchell County, and I've been just blessed with just a wonderful career in the education field, especially being here in Mitchell County. And, I just told you I talked to Bruce Eichert a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
And I used to go there as a superintendent, and he would give me a chance to brag on all the great things taking place in our schools.
Yeah.
That was my favorite thing to do. I'm so proud of the school system and all the things that it does. But, I got here in 1983. Just graduated from East Tennessee State University. I played football there many, many years ago. Not a sweet in that school. I was coming home from school, and my father, bless his heart, had my carpenter's apron in his hand. He said, "Hey, I'm on for summer break, and I have a job at the alcohol aluminum plant."
Okay.
They were regutting the whole thing. So, long story short, I worked 76 straight days, 6 o'clock at night till 6 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
Wow. I had this grease on me I couldn't get off. I was eating hot dogs at 6 o'clock in the morning. My whole metabolism was off. And I got a call from Mr. Dale Duncan, who was representing Doug Green. And I'd never heard of Mitchell County, but I could not get up here quick enough just to take a day off from that job.
That sounds like my life.
Exactly.
It sounds exactly like my life.
It was on Thursday, and the next Monday I was teaching at Harris Middle School and coaching on Roger Burleson's staff, the football team.
Really?
Blue Devils at that time hadn't lost a game in 3 years. So that's when my career started here. And
Wow.
went to that high school, spent a lot of time up there as a teacher and as assistant principal, coached several sports. And I loved that. I could have very easily retired as a teacher, coach. Loved what I did in both of those areas of life. And then I got into the principalship, and I spent some time as AP at the high school. I spent 6 years at Bowman with a bunch of middle school kids, but I had a blast.
Bless your heart.
Yeah, bless you.
The legendary Larry Forker over there.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then I was associate superintendent for 2 superintendents, Bill Sears.
Yep.
Was next, and then I finished my career as a superintendent. And that was 32 years in Mitchell County. I was blessed with every day here. I had a great time. And after that, I think I was retired for 3 days. And then I took a job at Asheville Christian Academy. And
3 whole days.
Wow.
it was a hoot. Had a great time. But I was the upper school master, which is the principal there for several years. And then, believe it or not, I started coaching the football team. And I brought the first football team to Asheville Christian Academy.
I thought I read that. Yeah.
Okay.
Coached since 98.
It'd been a while, huh?
2016, things had changed.
Yeah.
But I think Felicia was really surprised how quickly I got right back into it.
Yeah.
Breaking down film at 2 o'clock in the morning, that type of thing. But had a great time doing that. We had some really successful seasons, and led to the transition into ACA with the Lions football program.
Nice.
Do that. So, and, I got some news. I just signed a contract today. I'm going to go back to Asheville Christian Academy, their headmaster.
Oh, wow.
Wow, congratulations.
Congratulations.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I've been retired for a year and a half, but I'm going to tell you something. I've been really good at it.
Yeah, right. Just keep working.
This is something that I left that school. It's like I love Mr. County, and I just, we'll try to go back and help them at a tough time, and just looking forward to doing it.
Really cool. So we assume the next book's going to be about retirement. Yeah.
Yeah.
You think this is I try, but I can't quite retire.
Right.
This is the third time.
There you go.
Got this new chapter said this is just good there.
Well, listen, we'd already kind of introduced it, but the title of your new book, I Wish I Had Done More.
Yeah, inspirational influences and experiences during 40 years of teaching is hard to believe.
Wow. Rick, what does that mean? I wish I had done more.
Well, I want to read this to you right.
Yeah.
Okay. Sure.
It's a big part of the book. I got this on the back panel of my book. We give what we have, but how we give is up to us. The knowledge we share will always be shaped by who we are, and students will remember how we made them feel. I wanted to be that great role model, inspire my students, but looking back on my career in education, I wish I had done more. I know I could have done more. It bothers me that I did not do more, and my plan is to do more at the time I have so left. When it comes to time to give back, there's never a better time than now. I challenge us all to be positive difference makers in the lives of our children. Inspire. Are you with me? Can I count on you? You can count on me. Let's go be heroes. And this is my attempt at sharing 32 years of wonderful experiences that I've had, and the great influences, the people that are great ones that are a lot of times are just right around us. A great example is Mr. Phil McKinney. It's been a tough walk.
Yeah. Rest in peace, Phil.
Rest in peace, buddy. And, Felicia and I had an opportunity to go visit him in Helen about, I guess, around December, and he was feeling good, great spirits, and we sat there and talked to him. Well, he talked to us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Phil had a way of doing that, didn't he?
We had the best time. I was crying. I was laughing so hard.
Yeah.
I love Phil, and I was blessed to have an opportunity to coach with him. I was up in the box when I worked on Coach Rivers' staff. We called the plays up there, and I could write another book just on Phil McKinney. One of the things in this book, just as we talk about Phil, and there's a part in the book about my mother, who was a professor at Hiwassee College for 30 plus years. And when I took the job over in Mitchell County, she said she had some advice for me. She said, Rick, you're going to be a teacher first and you're a coach second. You put your focus on the teaching part of it. And if you're a good coach, that's a bonus. And I can't think of anybody better that represents that than Phil McKinney. And, I can remember as a 23, 24-year-old rookie teacher, I would slip up to his classroom and watch him teach. And I can remember Shakespeare's Midnight Summer's Dream, whatever. He was Puck. And he was dancing rings with this. And I've never seen such a great But just looking at the kids and seeing how mesmerized they were and what he was doing, it inspired me. And again, that's what this book's about. It's about inspiration. It's about like Chase and Josh that are inspiring us every day on this webcast.
Well, thank you.
Man,
That might be a little bit of a stretch.
We just
but I
like to have
appreciate
fun.
I appreciate you guys having me do this.
Oh, man, thank you for coming. Thank you.
Yeah.
We appreciate you doing this.
I heard you say, Rick, that you kind of think you want this book to be sort of a pep rally and to a rededication to the education field. Do you ever recall a time in your career when you got burnt out just completely? And how big of an issue do you think that is in education?
I think it's a very big issue. Public schools in particular are just being beaten down. There's nobody really helping public education, and I've been such an advocate for that throughout my career. And this book, again, is an attempt for me to encourage teachers, coaches, principals, people that work with school-age children, okay? And these people are expected to be great encouragers, educators, but sometimes they're the least encouraged group of people on the planet Earth.
Sure. True.
I discovered that teachers are just starving for some type of inspiration in their life, some type of motivation in their life. And this is my chance to do this with this book. And my overall goal is to remind teachers, coaches, principals, whoever's working with kids, how important they are.
Mm-hmm.
And what an awesome opportunity we have daily to encourage, to motivate, to inspire, to be a great influence, to be a positive difference maker. And just like you said, if you feel like you're not in that place, this is going to be a great read for you. And it will be a pet education. That's kind of my goal.
Yeah. Did you ever get burnout?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I was superintendent of school. That's that job. Sure. It's a lonely position. You know?
Yeah.
Especially when you got a board after you all the time. But, I any job that I was in, whether it was a superintendent, whether it's my first year teaching, I always felt led by the good Lord. I don't want to take this into a religious
Sure.
here, but I just always felt led. And just like today, when I signed that contract, I felt led to do that. You know, I felt like
That's awesome.
I'm needed here, and it's my responsibility to do a great job. So that's how I felt. But yeah, there's a lot of times you just get
Yeah.
we call those the dog days.
Yeah.
The breaks just seem like it gets further away.
Yes.
Kids are already in summer mode. It's April. You know.
Yeah.
It's just still, there's a lot of times you get beaten down, especially today.
Yeah, I know, thinking back, like, you could tell when teachers were burnt out.
Mm-hmm.
You could tell.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it shows through. I mean, and it's hard. Like, I remember being in high school and, I had one teacher in particular kind of comes to mind that she was going through a particularly rough time at the moment. And to be quite honest with you, it was amazing to me. Even at that age, I was like, I don't know how you're doing this. You're having to deal with all of that, plus this calling that's like to be a teacher. Because I think it really is a calling. I really do. There's something special about being a teacher, and it requires a passion that I just don't think a whole lot of other jobs require.
I couldn't do it.
I don't think I could do it.
I do not have that toolkit at all. I do not. It does.
Specific to the job. So, yeah.
And you got to be creative, I think.
Very.
Teacher guys.
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Hear about.
My favorite teacher was Rhonda Phillips, which we had in here recently.
Yeah, we had Rhonda on the show. Yeah.
Yes.
Teacher, yes.
Yep.
Yeah, it was fun to talk to her, to be honest. I mean, that woman, I don't ever recall a day, you talk about, being burnt out and stuff. I don't ever recall a day with her where I didn't feel like she was there in the moment, present. And I think that's what captivated, everybody about her.
Mm-hmm.
What's that?
She loved what she did, and she loved her students.
Yeah.
And it just made it easy for her. And Rhonda was fantastic for her.
Yeah.
I'm giving y'all some new podcasts.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Teacher of the month.
Yeah.
The teacher.
There you go. There you go.
A lot of fun, man.
It does. It does.
What about you, Josh? Who's your favorite?
Well, I've got two, and they always came as a package deal, and that's Tim and Sharon Drum.
Yes.
Yeah, Tim and Sharon Drum.
They have a better name.
Right? The band teachers.
Still to this day, when I tell people that was my band teacher's name, they're like, there's no way.
They think I'm so full of crap. And I'm like, no, that's their names. Like, it's Mr. and Mrs. Drum. Yeah, they were amazing. They, Mr. Drum especially had a massive impact on my life. I can't think of a teacher that had a big, yeah.
How did they do that? I just pull that out.
Man, yeah, sure. So, my freshman year, I became embroiled in some controversy. Yeah, I was embroiled in some controversy for the non-British people that are watching. So basically, what happened? There's another student who I was associated with. Loosely associated with too, who wanted to have his own anti-religious devotions. Yes. And I was like, okay, yeah, that's great idea, dude. So yeah, that somehow, some way, I'm quoting Snoop Dogg here. And I'm trying to be very careful too, like with my language, because I want to be very precise. But
I didn't remember Snoop having
no, I don't either.
No.
A lot of that, I became the main focus of a lot of that for some reason. And even though I had literally nothing to do with this whatsoever, I was associated with this person. And I think a lot of it was kind of, to set the context where Columbine had just happened.
Yes.
So everyone was like kind of freaking out already.
Hyper
Focused on. Yeah, exactly. And it was the end of the 90s. There was a little bit of the whole satanic panic thing still going on. Right. And, for some reason, and, my family being, my dad being a Baptist minister, that also
didn't quite go over.
Things, also. And anyway, Mr. Drum called Dad, and he said, I want to talk to you about Josh,
Right.
So Dad went to the school, and I'll never forget this. Dad got back in the van after all this, and the whole time I'm just like, y'all are insane. Like, has everyone lost their minds?
Right.
I mean, I wear black and listen to metal, but anyway, going back to Mr. Drum, Dad got back in the car, and he said, well, you've got one person here that stuck up for you. He said, Mr. Drum sat there and talked to me for 20 minutes and said not one negative thing about you.
That's awesome.
I was like,
He's a good man.
he is a great man. He is a great man. Yeah.
Well, and sometimes it takes that. I think educators are also advocates too. You know what I mean? You got to know where and that's like got to be a crazy line to walk, like, because when your kid leaves home in the morning, they go to be in your care. Mm-hmm. And so like it or not, those people become big influences and big parts of your life, and the parents are entrusted. Like, that's got to be a crazy line to walk between parents and all that. Can you kind of speak to that?
And you're trying to navigate your world too.
Sure.
Have problems. They have things that they were concerned about at home, and I, one of the things that I did is that I took a lot of that home with me. He was unhappy, and I saw things not going good in his life. It affected mine to some degree. So it's a tough job, but I think that's where you get kind of wears you out.
Right.
There's so many needs that our students have. It's almost impossible to meet them all.
Yeah.
And we want to, as teachers, but you can't fix everything.
It's kind of an emotional drain, huh? As much as it is anything else. Just a job plus.
I can imagine.
And, try to give them their best and have high expectations.
Right.
For them and be the best teacher you can.
Yeah.
See somebody they can look up to.
Yeah. Well, that kind of leads us into your first book was about bullying, right?
Yeah.
And I think Josh wanted to ask you about that.
Yeah. So just give us a brief overview of your research into bullying, what you've learned.
That was my topic for my dissertation.
Okay.
Really?
It's in my doctorate, yeah. And you mentioned Columbine, which I've always called that education's 911.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there were two other shootings that occurred a couple of years prior to Columbine that really disturbed me as well. One in Bethel, Alaska, and I was at Bowman at the time as principal there. And the school was very similar to that school in Bethel, the same size, the same makeup. The town was very similar. And there's a kid that was a special needs kid that was bullied and not really taken seriously, and people just kind of overlooked all the time. And then all of a sudden, he made the statement, "I will shoot the principal." And then all your kids became his friend and started to really encourage him to do what he was.
Holy cow!
He was a 16-year-old kid, and that had very little at home to kind of keep an eye on him. And there was so much talk about this shooting that kids brought video cameras. That's back in '98 because we didn't have a cell phone to think like this.
Right.
A big camera to come in and record what this kid was going to do. There was two kids that missed the bus, and they called a cab so they wouldn't miss it. And that was extremely disturbing for me that there was that type of culture existing in that school. It created that. And if you look back at all the early school shootings in particular, and Columbine being the one itself, it was motivated by kids being bullied. These were victims of bullies. These weren't the bullies of the schools. The bullies of the school created these monsters.
Yeah.
And Eric Harris and Dylan Klebo at Columbine.
Yeah.
They were both bullied horribly bad. Dylan Klebo had been bullied since preschool.
Yeah.
Eric Harris transferred in that school from Plattsburgh, New Jersey 1 year before that.
Yep.
When he walked into the foyer at Columbine High School, he was labeled homosexual.
Yeah.
They actually took pictures of him being held down and the sex acts were being simulated on. They threw cups of urine on him.
Yeah.
This is how they greeted a new kid into school. So Eric found Dylan, and they became buddies, and who are two victims of bullying. And Dylan Klebo had been bullied his whole life at Columbine and never had any help. So who do you think he was mad at that?
Right.
Who do you think Dylan Klebo was mad at that?
Yeah.
10 years. He was mad at the adult population.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
So these guys come together, and as you remember, they became the black coat, trench coat mafia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can Google all this stuff and see it. They actually did a video in their junior language arts class.
Yeah.
Them coming in, smoke screens up, heavy metal music playing, and they were shooting all the athletes in the school.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you also recall, after the shootings occurred, when students were interviewed, none of them really bashed Dylan Klebo and Eric Harris. It was almost like they understood. So that's a cultural thing that could
Yeah.
I could tell you so much more on this. There's a lot of follow-up to this, and that was part of my dissertation. So I was making phone calls to people and talking to people who were in the know there, and that's what you heard, that the bully kid or the victim was just unprotected, and nobody helped that child. And that's when I became immersed in data collection and research about anti-bullying programs and their change in schools. And I've developed a program. It's outstanding. It's probably about 70 LEAs in this state. I
Really?
shared it all over. It's 6 states, and it works very well in our schools. It gives something you can do a little bit every day to kind of be reminded of our responsibility as the bullied behavior. It requires us all to have a dialogue about it, to talk about it, to discuss it, not to bury our head in the sand. And that's what most adults do. They bury their head in the sand because it's easier to do. They don't know how to deal with it. So I want to give teachers, principals, the tools to deal with it the right way. And then we can hand that down to our students so they can also police the school to some degree. So we can deal with it effectively.
Yeah, that leads to another question I had actually specifically about bullying. Going back to what you just said about the students policing it too. I wonder how much more effective it would be to give the students the toolkits to police the bullying rather than the adults intervening and stopping the bullying, especially when these students graduate and get out into the real world as adults and encounter bullying without an authority figure to intervene.
Yeah.
Yeah. The first group, there's 3 players in this whole game. It's the victim, the bully, and the bystander. And 98% of us are bystanders. We have seen it. I've seen it. Around it. We've had friends bullied, or we've been bullied, or somebody in our family's been bullied. So one of these things that I try to do is give the students the tools to deal with it as a bystander. And one of the things we can do is just decide we're not going to allow this to happen in our school. We're just not going to talk to each other this way.
Right.
And a lot of times it requires kids that may be a little bit more popular in the school. I think sometimes the athletes drive the tone or the culture of the school. So I think it's important to really let people understand the responsibility they have in what comes out of their mouth and how they treat other people.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's really good.
So as far as the bystander can make the biggest change in the school.
Sure.
And then as I kind of grew in the program, I started talking more and working more with the victims, because you have victims that sometimes, are provocative and kind of create their own.
Yeah, sure.
You got to figure out a way to get them out of that corner. Okay. But a truly victim of bullying, they can keep it to themselves.
Yeah. There is an element of shame there. Yeah.
Level of shame. And is it going to get worse?
Right.
Okay. So that's when the adults come in, and we got to be able to deal with it in an effective way that doesn't make a bigger problem than already there.
Yeah. Right. Is there something, you'd mentioned culture, and gosh, that's so true. Like every school you go to has like a culture. Who do you think sets the culture, and if it goes wrong, where does it go wrong first? Is it top down?
Okay, let me talk as a coach for a second.
Okay, sure. All right.
And great teams. What is a great team? Or a mediocre team is there's no leadership.
Right.
Okay, a good team is coach led. A great team is player led. So if you have a student body that says we don't want to have a culture of bullying in our kids, we don't want people to talk down to others and demean others.
Sure.
We're just not putting up with it. And I think a lot of times your senior class, your upperclassmen, your athletes, your cheerleaders, your fine arts kids that are popular in school, these popular kids, they have a responsibility.
Yeah.
To show the way. So anytime, during my principal years or what, I make sure that I lay the expectations out for everybody. This is how we're going to have a fantastic year.
Yeah.
We're not going to do these things to others, but we're going to do these. We're going to love each other. We're going to encourage each other. Support. We're going to have each other's back. We're not going to allow somebody not to be excited to come to school.
Right.
To be excited coming to school.
Well, I think that's real talk because
Yeah.
truthfully, that really is the case. But it's like, okay, well, we don't want to show favoritism or whatever. But truthfully, there are people in every school, students that set the tone. It's,
Yeah.
it really is the truth. I like that a lot.
It could be good, bad. It could be good, bad, or ugly.
Yeah.
And, I want the good. I think, people would rather go to school where there's harmony.
Sure.
Who wants to go to school where there's a bunch of drama?
Yeah.
Right.
We've got a couple pages on how we deal with the drama kings and queens in the school.
Sure.
They're there. They're not set there to stir things.
Right.
How do we deal with them? What's the difference between teasing somebody and bullying someone?
Right.
They're just different things that we could talk about. And this was created by a school leader that recognized that we don't have a lot of time in the day to do stuff like this.
Right.
So it's just a little bit every day. A little bit every day. When I was at Baldwin, I would have some type of verse or some type of Tim McGraw lyric.
Right.
And that would set that. Here's our theme for the day. And then we'd have the teachers talk about a certain thing in this program. At the back end of my book, the last part of it is the bully free. It's just an appendix on my materials and resources. Put this bully free program in your school. So that's the back end of the book right there. So I shared that as well. So which is 25 years of my research.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm really proud of that.
You mentioned the expectations. I know that in my education career, I anybody who required high expectations of me, it's like you rise to meet that expectation. And I see sometimes now that, especially with
I'm laughing because I just disappoint people. Right. Like, that's just the way it is. You have
I've done plenty of that too.
Sorry, bro. Maybe lower them and then I'll rise to that.
Who was it? I think Ronald Reagan said the soft bigotry of low expectations.
Yeah.
And he was referring to, the black
George
community.
Bush said that.
I have to believe that was Ronald Reagan.
Was it?
I believe it was. But it's the truth. I mean, it comes from the top down. When the leader sets the expectations, everybody sort of rises to meet that. Do you think in public schools now, do you think the expectations have been lowered? And if so, why do you think that
I've
is?
been out of there for about 9 years. So mine never lowered when I was
Right.
I felt the same way. I just feel like COVID has just sapped our energy.
Yeah.
I had a son in college that missed 2 years of college. He was trapped in his apartment.
Yeah.
It's made us all a little weird. It's made us all.
COVID's made the whole
The
world
fallout
weird.
has been years.
I taught a freshman class at Montreat. There's 19 freshman students in there. We were talking about anxiety and stress and all that. 17 of the 19 they were either on medication or they were having therapy.
Yeah.
And the other two kids were screwed up as you all are. We needed help too. So really 19 of 19 dealing with something.
Sure.
We could,
Right.
we didn't think about it.
Right.
This doesn't happen to you.
Well, we didn't know to, and I think that may lie. The answer may lie in that we didn't know to think about anxiety. We didn't know to think about that. I mean, it was talked about a little bit.
Yes.
But mental illness was not openly discussed then as it is now.
Which I think is a good thing that we
It's
discuss
good and
it.
bad. It's
but
good and bad.
It's funny it's funny you mentioned this because I hate to keep calling you out on this, Josh, but Josh just recently came off of SSRIs that he was on for
5-6 years now.
And we've kind of been following that as we've been doing these episodes.
Yeah.
Like he's kind of giving an update, like coming off of them, what it was like to come back.
Yeah.
And I mean, it really is something to comment on. It's like I feel almost like now it's great that we talk about it.
Oh yeah.
But it's like you talk about it and it's like here, have this. Like, and I wonder how much of that is just skirting having to deal with the problem.
I listened to a podcast last night by a psychiatrist who was a big proponent of at least zooming out and looking at the big picture of what these drugs are doing to us, our youth, and our population as a whole. And he summarized my entire experience with SSRIs perfectly and beautifully. I'd never considered this, but the specific drug I took was paroxetine. It's one of the more common ones, but it's also one of the more addictive ones, one of the more harder ones to get off of. And it affects you. I mean, it's up there with like Abilify. It really does. It literally gives you a chemical lobotomy is what he described this drug that it does to you. And that's exactly what it did to me. Exactly what it did to me. So other than, being a little sleep deprived today, I feel pretty good.
Right.
But yeah, when I was on it, dude, I was a zombie. I was like, I was literally a zombie. I could not, my memory was gone. Oh, not set aside the fact that, I felt no emotions. I couldn't feel love, joy, sadness, empathy, motivation, none of it.
And quite honestly,
all gone.
You had a great reason for going on it too. I mean, after the scare that you had, and I mean that develops a whole lot of anxiety. You're the classic case, basically.
I went on it for post-traumatic stress and major depressive because I was diagnosed with kidney cancer in 2018. And initially, before we got the pathology back, they assumed that it was clear cell renal cell carcinoma, which is the most common type, which has about a 90% mortality rate. So I was told pretty early on I had about 2 years left to live. Turned out that wasn't the case. No, man, it's all good. It's all good now. Yeah, thank you. Turns out it was not the case. It was cancer, but it was a very rare type of malignancy that has I went from a 10% chance of survival to like a 80% chance of survival and maybe like a 50-50 chance of recurrence. So I was like, hell yeah, I'll take that any day.
Right.
But
beat you down mentally.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I was like in a constant state of panic. Everything scared me to death. So I talked to my doctor and he put me on Paxil and it did what it was supposed to do. It made me not care about anything, right. Cancer or otherwise. I mean, and really, finally I got off of it. And yeah, it's like going back to talking about school shootings and stuff like that. Like, I could very easily see how that drug can turn somebody into a sociopath that could carry out something like that.
And we're seeing more of that now.
100%. 100%.
When I first started my study, it was more of victims of bullies.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nowadays, you're seeing a lot of just kids that are just wiped out on something that, make them.
Yeah. And I mean, if you have someone like me who can't feel empathy or can't feel love, can't feel joy, sadness, any of that. Imagine somebody with, major depressive disorder or somebody that has a propensity for like psychosis or schizophrenia is put on one of those drugs. And
yeah.
Well, it's, I have my youngest son. He's on the spectrum. What used to be Asperger's, now they've taken that out, but he's high functioning autistic. Mm-hmm. And, also coupled with a heavy dose of ADHD, legitimate ADHD, not just that he's a kid, but, he generally struggles to pay attention. But, we've struggled with medication because it works for him. It really does. But it dulls him out to the point where he's like, the last run we tried on medication, he was so frustrated with himself because he's such a creative kid, but it impeded his creativity.
Oh yeah.
And it was almost worse. And then also I'm looking at the kid and I'm like, I don't recognize you when
just
you're
an
on
empty
this.
Shell of a person.
Yeah. And it really makes you wonder, like,
is that really a fix?
Is it really a fix, really? And that's got to be a tough thing for an educator because, you're looking at this, you're seeing it, and then you're also seeing perhaps an unstable home life where they don't really have the support. So it's just, they're just following whatever the doctor says to do. And you're like, well, how do I step in here? How do I intervene in any meaningful way in this kid's life to help them out? I mean, I don't know how you deal with that. I really don't.
Keep searching for the right fit.
Right.
Going through, but yeah, it's a scary situation for.
It absolutely is.
It is. And you see more and more kids being given these psychotropic drugs that I just don't think is a good idea.
I really wonder, man. And then, I mean, you also have to think about what happens after that. Like, what?
Right.
Do you just continue being on that for the rest of your life?
Okay, so here's something that was talked about in this podcast I was listening to last night. So there are, like, Abilify and some of these other harder to come off of drugs. They do permanent damage. Damage. Yeah. I forgot what the syndrome is called. But especially some of these like Abilify is an injectable. Mm-hmm. You get a 2-month dose. And what it does is it literally just creates it's an intramuscular injection. And it just creates a pocket of this medicine in your tissue that slowly over the 2 months is absorbed into your system. And the only way to remove, like if you have an adverse effect to it, the only way to remove it is to surgically remove that tissue. So you have that, and these people that come off of these drugs, how I described I felt just a few minutes ago, they're like that forever.
Good grief.
So it's, I don't think it's a good thing. I really don't. I didn't mean for us to go down this rabbit hole, but
Oh, I think it's good,
I
man.
do want to go back to bullying, though. I have a question. So we've talked about all the good that these programs have done. So, the great economist Thomas Sowell says there is no solutions, there's only trade-offs. What are some of the negative aspects you've seen of these anti-bullying programs?
That's a good question. I think a lot of times now the victim has we have more victims because now we understand bullying better.
Right.
And bullying is defined, and it's being redefined every day. People are figuring out different ways to bully other people.
Sure.
I mean, cyberbullying's out of control now.
Oh, my God.
Because now you got a bully.
And you can't do anything about it.
This kid probably doesn't have the nerve to be a true bully, but he can at home on his laptop.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's no threat of physical violence there. There's no threat of physical retaliation.
But the one thing that I have seen is maybe it creates more victims than really is out there.
Sure.
True.
And that's when I created the provocative victim, because really there's kids that create the problem. You went back there again today and you said the same thing to the same kid. What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times once you can start to educate that child and say, that your behaviors create a lot of your problems.
This is how you break the cycle.
And they start to understand it, then, there's at least 4 pages. I've had people that said they put them on the refrigerator and their child will try something different every day. There's just different ways that you can change your role as being victim. It's how to take yourself out of that role.
Yeah.
There's something that's finally going to hit, and I've had mothers that come up and cry to me and say, we got to page 2, and I finally realized he was happy.
Yeah.
He's going to school and he's coming back happy. So I just feel like the more that we talk about it, the more dialogue is out there, the more that adults can help us with it. I mean, because you guys have been through it. We've all been through it.
Sure.
We can share the experiences that we have to hopefully help our young people.
Dialogue. That's really what helps. Like,
It's got to be confident. It's probably something that's part of your DNA.
Right. Well, sunlight's the best disinfectant, right?
It is.
Drag something into the light.
I walked into Boatman Middle, and this is where I initiated this program back in 2000. You knew exactly what we stood for.
Right.
Because we had it all over the walls. It changed us. It changed. I saw that school go from a school. We really had a fight just about every day. I hate to say that.
Yeah.
We had a bus that came back about every day because we had issues going like on that bus. Somebody pushing stuff like somebody doing this or whatever. But there's vandalism around the school that made no sense at all.
Right.
And it was just created by this bullying mentality. And I'll be honest with you, as soon as we put a program in place, within 6 months, boy bullying stopped.
Yeah.
It stopped. Now, the next year, around Thanksgiving, I had 2 boys, that ran into each other in the gym going for a ball, and they got up swinging. Is that even really a fight? Really not.
Probably.
But they sent them to the office. They knew exactly what was going to happen to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I sent them home for a day to cool them off. All right. And I iced them a little bit, and I let them sit on the couch out there.
I like that. Yeah. Like icing the kicker, right? Just make them wait.
Kicker, they called extra time out. And I went out there, and this is the craziest thing. They both stood up, and they said, Mr. Spurley, we are so sorry that happened. We've apologized to each other. We know that we have to go home. This ain't never going to happen again. And I went, this thing's working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Program's working. That girl bullying, I'm still working on that.
So I was getting ready to ask you, and I'm sorry I'm hogging all the questions, but man,
No, you're good, man.
so
It's premeditated. It's
a different kind. Yeah. Yeah.
Listen, we get to fight. Me and you, Chase, we get to fight. Well, Chase told me he broke my nose, man. We've been best friends ever since.
Right.
Forgive each other.
Yeah, that's
Girls
true.
have a hard time letting it go.
Right.
And what they do is they stir things. Then the boys get involved, and the testosterone kicks in. Then we start having different cliques. Then we got some aggressive going on.
Right.
Kind of violent act in the school. And we failed if we let that happen.
True. Yeah.
Just fatal.
The movie Mean Girls comes to mind.
I'm watching that.
What is up with that phenomenon that came out around that? Well, I'm sure the movie helped with that too,
Yes.
but that was a thing there for a
It
minute.
was. I think honestly it hit a chord because it's there's that group of mean girls in almost every school. You know what I mean?
Go to church. There's mean women.
That's true.
There's adults are the worst bullies.
The mean girls grow into, and I see them on TikTok now as adults being mean girls on. I'm like, what the hell is wrong with you? You're 30. Stop.
Just stop already. It's over.
So we're still working on that.
Well, women are an enigma all the way around. So we get no offense, Felicia. Well, listen, I kind of switching gears here. I wanted to ask you about your, you spent 32 years in Mitchell County school system, a rural school system, and you've also taught in public school and in private school. Can you speak to the differences between public and private education and also rural and urban education?
We talk about Jesus, private Christian.
Right.
Sure.
We like to talk about Jesus.
Right.
It was weird. I was there the first week I was there. I gave devotion 3 times
Yeah.
in that 1 week.
Was that weird?
It was so cool.
Right.
And there's just something about the culture environment of that school that is Christ driven. You know, and it's weird though. I feel like the same love and affection is shown to our kids in our public school, in the private Christian school.
Yeah.
We just can't talk about our faith.
Right.
We get chastised for that, but I haven't seen a whole heck of a lot of difference.
Right.
With that one thing that I mentioned about Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Today. But I love my time in Mitchell County, and I have been blessed with
Right.
RCA. It's just been a great opportunity for me over there too. It's been kind of unique to see public against versus private. But as far as just the operational stuff,
Right. Pretty similar. I've told this story many times on here, but I got out of school and it was a rough time.
you got that.
Yeah. 3 and 4. Me. Yeah.
Yep.
So when I graduated, that was the years where we had to bring, paper to school for the stuff. So I just kind of assumed that I was probably going to be at a disadvantage because I'm coming from a rural school system. I'm encountering all these people that are, from better school systems, supposedly. So I go into a leadership class, which is supposedly supposed to be for kind of your, So, first essay we have to write was off a summer reading book. And so we write the essay, and then it's one of those deals you pass it to the person to your left to grade it, to go through and grade it. Well, this girl, who I just assumed was the smartest girl in the entire sitting beside, that was part of my strategy. Well, I get her paper, and I hand mine off to the other. I start reading through this paper, and there are run-on sentences. There is no punctuation whatsoever. And I quickly figured out that I was at far less of a disadvantage than I ever thought I was. In fact, I figured out over the course of that class that I probably was better prepared than just about anybody else in there. So we both graduated from Mitchell. Oh, I went to UNCA.
East Tennessee.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's right.
But again, I just assumed that I was at a disadvantage, but I realized that I got a pretty good education in high school. I really did. And I think that's due in large part to the teachers that I had. Starting with Melora Cook. Yeah.
I loved Melora Cook.
She made me fine. I hated writing, but I loved writing for her.
Yeah.
Only was part of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
But, it just goes to show you, it's like, I honestly think, and I've, you hear people and their stupid opinions online and all this stuff, blah, blah, blah. I quite literally think that we probably have one of the better rural school systems in this set. And we've had a couple of different educators, Miss Phillips being one, Andy Wentz, who's back now teaching, which in fact he took her spot when she retired.
Yeah.
So, or at least got her classroom now. Do you feel like that Mitchell County schools are a standout? Do you?
I had a daughter that graduated here. She had no problem with that, I should say. She felt very prepared for that. I will say that I think at ACA, one of the things with academics that the rigor and relevance is much tougher.
Yeah.
And a lot of that's about the stamp. You get the ACA stamp, you could pretty much go to any college you want to.
Yeah.
But my daughter had no problem at all in her schooling come out of Mitchell King School.
Yeah.
My son spent 2 years at a private school. He went to Wake Forest. I don't feel like he felt any more prepared than Madison did.
Right.
Really?
He went through that rigorous curriculum at ACA. So, Mitchell King is something to be proud of. But Mitchell King schools, I've always said that. And a lot of times we get really good people who grew up here that come back and give back.
Yeah, you don't see a whole lot of teachers that are really from out. The vast majority of the teachers in this school system grew up here.
They have some kind of time.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that at all. I mean, I think that's part of it.
And that's what you want. You want to inspire people to come back and take the spots that they, So I think that's a great thing. Do you have thoughts on the K-12 model as a whole?
K-12 model as a whole.
Well, just as compared to like some alternate, like something like Montessori or something like that. Do you think there's systematic problems with K-12 that could be fixed?
Well, I'm a big proponent of preschool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's important. I'm a proponent of K-12.
All right.
I think, it's a
Gotcha.
following your question.
No, you're fine. I just wondered if you had thoughts, because I know I've heard a lot of talk about, well, what about even just small changes like year-round school, things like that. Did they follow pretty much the same at ACA?
Very similar to
Okay, gotcha.
I've seen year-round schedules that work. People believe in those. And really that makes a lot of sense because you've got these, multi-million-dollar facilities that we just closed down for 3 months.
Right.
True.
There's a lot of good to that. Plus, Felicia can tell you this, they lose a lot of what they've retained over the summer.
Sure.
I think we need to have summer programs in place that all, and give every kid an opportunity.
Yeah.
Stay.
Yeah. I tell you what I'd really love to see is year-round schooling. The rest of society gets summer breaks.
Yeah. I'd like to see that.
Let's just reverse that dichotomy there.
You guys love that. What about charter schools? What do you think about charter schools?
I'm not a big fan of charter schools.
Yeah.
Really?
I used to be not a very big proponent of home schools too, because you got a lot of people that pull their kids out of school because they're mad at somebody, they're mad at this or they're mad at that. And the first thing you hear somebody that does that, they'll say, well, all we're really missing is the social part of education. Well, that bull. Take your kid to church if you want to get some social.
Right.
What you're missing out on is a quality certified teacher that is ready to teach that subject and they will do a great job. That's what your kids miss in the whole scenario. So it's be fired up a little bit.
I hear you.
Charter schools, I think there's a lot of good in charter schools, but it seems like you see an awful lot of bad things as far as people that just scam for a couple of years.
Yeah.
A lot of money are out of there. And they're out there.
Yeah.
That would be my general observation of the whole thing. I see them done well, like I lived in Swannanoa. I don't know if you know this, but I lived in Swannanoa for about 8 years. So I saw Art Space Charter School literally come out of a metal building. It's huge. I was over there I go by there quite often because I have to go over there to get materials, but I watched it come out. Yeah, absolutely, man. We'll do it. But I see it done well, and then I see it go horribly wrong on the other end of
I
that.
see charter schools, they'll have a charter school for 3 or 4 years. They win the state championship and stuff, and then they just close the school. And I mean, they had a great group of athletes that all the parents got. We're going to make a good football team.
Right.
And then, so I'm the horror stories of charter schools outweigh what I hear good. And they're starting to milk away at our public school funds. And that's when the old superintendent became out.
Right.
They're out a little bit.
Right.
Yeah, that's
I got you.
So help me out here. And forgive me for being ignorant of this, but what is the difference between a charter school and a private school?
a private school is private fund.
Okay.
A charter school requires,
Like tuition.
charter school requires some funding from the state, and they can just kind of spring up anywhere. And there's not really any like we have to follow a standard course of study. We have to give ELG tests. We have to do all these different things that are part of the state system. And they kind of do whatever they want to do. You know, they kind of have the curriculum.
Yeah.
Teachers are not as qualified. Teachers don't have to have the certification. You know, if a teacher doesn't have the certification to teach math, they'll have that within a couple of years that we're required to do that.
Right.
There's a lot of differences in how they.
It's kind of not a whole lot of safeguards in place for stuff like that.
Oversight.
Right.
And I know teachers do great work, but we still want to have safeguards to say, here's the curriculum we need.
Right.
And you can be as creative as you want teaching it. Then we call it the White Bible, the standard course of study.
Yeah.
You got to have something
The White Bible.
Gives you some direction.
Right.
So, and I think that's where they hurt. They don't have that
Right.
set up. They don't have the program in place.
Understood.
Right.
Okay.
So, so I know a lot of this is kind of, a lot of the charter school thing was born out of, like you said, parents who are just not a fan of the. What do you really think the role of a parent in educating a child is?
The parent and the school should partner. It should be a partnership. I say that all the time. I mean, and a lot of times, partnership is they come and they wave their finger in your face and they're mad about something. I'll be honest with you. That's a big difference in the public school and the private curriculum. I usually don't have parents come into my office in attack mode. And here in good old Mitchell County, that happened from time to time.
Oh, sure.
They were mad. They weren't mad at me. They might have been mad at their teacher 20 years ago that did something to them. And now it happened again. I'm coming here. I got somebody.
Right.
And one of the things that was really disheartening for me is I would sit and talk with a parent, and we would come up with a good plan, or we'd feel good about how we're going to deal with whatever situation we're dealing with, and we'd leave their second hands feeling good about it. And then they would go run to a board member and complain to that board member, and the board member pisses a fit. All of a sudden, all this good work we've done it's in the papers now. We're putting the fire out, and I just don't understand. That was always hard for me to do.
Yeah.
Because really, it should stop right there with the principal. When you go on the principal, you work it out.
Yeah.
Plan.
Right.
They were always looking for a higher source to go to.
Right.
I'm sure that's gotten a lot worse now, too, with social media.
Oh, yeah. That doesn't help at all.
Yeah.
And then we could just bash away. We all got Spruce Pine now.
Let's talk Spruce Pine. Let's talk Mitchell County.
I was depressed.
There's some folks that are not a big fan of me and Josh in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all right.
Who started the Rants and Raves you take?
Oh, man.
Was ever in the Rants and Raves was mine. Never understood that. I always call the editor. We didn't put names in there.
Well, Rick, we've realized in the short time that we've been doing this that it doesn't really matter what you say. Somebody's going to have a very strong opinion about.
Everybody has a strong opinion about everything.
That's the truth.
Everything.
That's the truth. And it's like and not very educated opinions sometimes. They're not informed opinions.
Yeah,
let's say that.
mine probably isn't either, but I don't know. I feel like I hold mine pretty loosely. Pretty loosey-goosey with my opinion.
Subject to change upon new information.
No.
Me either.
No.
Me either, man.
It's like, man, that's
Love a little bit more instead of being right.
Yes, we do.
My dad used to always say, I think that's prime.
my favorite saying is, that's a strange hill to die on, but at least you're dead.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's where you walk from Lincoln, that's all.
You had mentioned the COVID thing. Gosh, I don't think I can remember a more challenging time educating my kids during those couple of years.
It was a disaster.
It was an absolute disaster. And I would hope that we would learn those lessons. I'm not convinced that we are even capable of learning those lessons at this point because we can't stop arguing with one another. But
Right.
when it comes to like online education, because, we talked before we started, I never had you as a teacher or a coach, but we always look forward to hearing your voice about the school being canceled.
Hello, this is Rick Sparkline calling from the Education Service. This message is to inform you.
Yes.
For May, June, we're out of school because it's snowing.
Right. Exactly.
It's going to change over the course from October to April.
Well, now those days are right. Yeah. So those days are over because now it's not a snow day. True, it's a remote day most of the time. Yes.
Quite.
Along with that, I mean, what are some of the other things that COVID really just upended in education?
Well, we talked about the anxiety.
Yeah. Why do you think that is, Rick?
It's just, it was mind-boggling that was taking place. So that's a good question, Chase. I don't know if I got the answer for that. What do you think on this?
I think social media has a lot to do with it.
Yeah, it is.
Weird to say how that. I don't know how else to say it.
Well, it put everything online again, where again there's a bunch of faceless, nameless, things. It made, you talked about holding a standard or expectations. There were little to no expectations because there was no supervision. Even my kid and my kids pretty good at doing their schoolwork, but it was a struggle even for my kids to get that done. I just don't think you can understate the importance of in-person education. I just don't think you can understate it.
I've talked about it once before on the show, but Jonathan Haidt is a psychologist at New York University, has just written a book called The Anxious Generation. Yeah, it's I've been listening to the audiobook, and it is incredible. So it goes in, it specifically focuses on young girls and how social media has caused this epidemic of anxiety and depression that is going to last their entire lifetime.
Yeah.
You should really check that book out. It is a great read.
Yeah.
God, you could write a whole book just on what COVID has done to kids
real.
and to the education system.
The football team from February till April that year, we played in empty stadiums.
That's got to be weird.
That's insane.
Yeah. Yeah.
To ACL, we played up there when they had the Holman kid up there.
Yeah.
For about 3,000 yards a game.
Right.
It was an empty stadium.
Yeah.
You're playing a football game. It just changed. And then we went and had football season in the fall. Did y'all play in the fall or winter that year?
I can't remember. I don't think we played in the fall.
No.
I think we played through the winter. Yeah.
It was so strange, And, you couldn't take more than one coach on the field at a time. I mean, just all these. But
Miss Kitty just jumped out of nowhere. Sorry about that. There's no snakes in the house, I promise. Just two cats. No snakes in the house. If I took anything away from COVID, it's that no one knows what we're doing. We are just completely clueless, and we're making it up as we go.
And I tell you what I took away from it is that you think you want to be alone. You think you want to be isolated. You don't want that.
No.
There's a lot of people that think that that's what they want. You don't actually want, when it's mandated and when it's not there, we all go crazy. We're social creatures. End of story.
Well, that's what led to what I call the summer of love
Yeah.
in 2020. You know what I'm referring to, all the riots and everything.
Yeah. That's true. I mean, it was like a collective nationwide angst that then played out live on television for all of us to witness. Yeah. And we saw what the fallout was.
It was a powder keg and
waiting to happen.
So just a few days after the riots down there.
Oh, wow.
We were told, we went to some bar there, and we were told that they broke through the glass and came to this beautiful restaurant bar we were in, and they said that none of the people they knew, they didn't know any of these people.
Right.
Yeah.
Most of the homeless around there and the people who live on the street.
Right.
These people came in here, created all this damage and took off. But Charleston looked like a third world country.
That's insane. And that's a beautiful city. A beautiful place.
No.
It's crazy. That's for sure. Well, Rick, what's next? After.
I saw one of your spot. I'm talking about Western. Nobody mentioned Lonesome Dove and Augustus McCrae. Y'all were talking about Westerns.
Oh, Westerns,
Yeah. No, we did not.
Me and Phil love that.
Yes.
Again, we love Augustus McCrae. So I just want to throw that in there. And a little Tennessee baseball.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, the Vols.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Baby to die, but we got to get after it.
After that first game, I thought they were going to get blown out. Then they came back and blew A&M.
We went 2-3.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm very excited about the Big R's.
And a Game 7 Stanley Cup final tonight, too. Yeah.
Just one thing I'll add about the book. Again, we talked about inspiration. We talked about Phil, and he's a great example. He'll be in my next book. I promise you that. But there's one chapter on Miss Margaret. I just want to mention this.
Yes.
Sure.
Miss Margaret would be Miss Margaret Robinson. If y'all know Miss Margaret Robinson, that's Joey Robinson, Coach Joey Robinson.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. I know Joey. Yeah.
When I moved here in 1983, I was coaching the Harris Middle School Blue Devils, baby, which was a stud for. And Joey was on that team. He was a seventh grader. And I coached him for 2 years there, and then I coached him for 4 years at high school. They moved me to high school. And I had 6 years with Joey coaching them. So we're really good friends. And the reason we're good friends is because his mama just decided to be my mama too.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, gotcha.
23-year-old rookie kid here had no skills in the kitchen at all. And she would send one of her kids over just about 3 times a week with a hot meal for me. And I don't think I'd eat more than ravioli and tuna. She did hot meals for Sunday dinners. And I just became a real good friend with Miss Margaret Robinson. And she's a chapter in this book. And I've got a lot of attention from this story. But I tell the story, Margaret, she was so wonderful with kids. And she had the ability to calm kids down. And they used her like she was a teacher assistant. She wasn't a teacher. She would have been a great teacher.
Right.
But I think the good Lord placed her in the TA position so she would have more time to work individually with kids. So a good example of this book is I tell a story, Miss Margaret, and what she means to me, what she meant to her family, what she meant to the school. And I take it a step further, and we talk about how she was able to calm a kid down, a kid that was out of control, a kid that was in tears, a kid that was angry, whatever was going on. She was a pro. So what I do in the chapters, I tell her wonderful story, and then I give some strategies and tips. Here's what Miss Margaret did. All right, here's to change that whole scenario. Here's what the experts say. I kind of feel a little bit better about this over here on this side. You know, I told Joey, I called Joey and I said, Coach, I'm going to bring your book over. I released my book back in February. I said, I'm going to bring your book over next week. He said, don't worry about it. The Robinson's gone crazy. We bought 50 already. I'm so proud.
Nice.
And I've heard over and over again how that's touched people's hearts because I think I nailed it. I think I nailed her story. As you say every morning, you know, let them see. She would pray to Jesus, let them see you through me today. And in the book, there's a page that Jake wrote, that Jake Fernelson, her grandson, and every time I read it, I cry. He just talks about his grandmother and that he misses her and how he does everything he does as a teacher relates to what she taught him.
Wow.
So, I mean, these are the stories you tell. And you got a guy like Phil McKinney. You got a guy like what you guys are doing. But you think back on these people that you didn't think were that special, man. They were so special. They were so special, and they meant so much to you. And you didn't really realize it until you thought, man, this is a great guy right here. How do we do anything without him? So that's what the book's about. I want it to inspire people. I want people to feel better about what they're doing in the schools, the classroom. I want to be fired up about it. I want to be encouraged. I want them to inspire people and go out there and do what we do best, and that's teach and motivate and lead and guide and direct and change directions of people's lives. It's like you guys. I know when I say something about a teacher, I can just see people going off that. The teacher right there.
Yeah.
They touch you, just like Miss Helen Mason right there in first grade on the cover of the book. I'm looking at her right there, guys. You know why I'm looking at her? I loved her. She was an angel on earth, man. She made me feel special. I wasn't special. She made me feel smart. I wasn't that smart. She made me get a great start on school, and I was the first grader out there, and I've loved school ever since. And Miss Helen Mason,
Yeah.
she went to the same church I went to in Madisonville where I grew up.
Yeah.
She kept up with me through her whole life. So I went home to visit my family one time, and I went over to see her on a Sunday afternoon on her front porch. We had tea, the sugar cube and everything.
Right.
And she said, you remember you used to write me love letters? And I said, well, no, I don't remember, but my mother told she shuffled off the porch.
Oh, my.
Her house. She came back with 2 huge shoe boxes of letters. Now, they weren't all for me.
Right.
I wasn't that crazy. But I said some good stuff to her. I said, why did we not hook up? I mean, thousands of love letters to her.
Wow.
Cracked up all day long. What I'm trying to say here, you know, they make a difference to us, but we make a difference to them.
Sure.
100%. Well,
Always remember that.
teachers deserve our support, man.
Yeah.
They'll never forget you. They'll never forget little Chase Thomas. They'll never forget little Josh. They're never going to forget you like Mr. Drop. They'll move him to tears when he hears that.
Yeah.
When Rhonda Phillips hears that, she's going to cry right there on the spot, I guarantee. And I don't think you could have picked out 3 better people than Sharon Grun and Rhonda Phillips.
Well, that's what you're in it for.
Yep.
You know, may not be the oldest profession ever known, but it definitely is probably the most important. One of the most important, for sure. Well, listen, let's end it on this. Funniest story.
Funny stories. Geez.
Your whole career.
Matter with flesh we night. They ran. Well, I tell you what, since we're talking about Phil today, all right?
Okay.
If the opposing team wanted to mess up our play calling, all right, they would bring food to the press box. All right, so
Yeah.
Phil, he loved to eat. All right, so but one of the things we were practicing one day, and Leland could be ready to play for Leaders.
I was just right before Leyland, so I got Coach Merritt.
He could be kind of intense, Leland was. He was always kind of in that coaching mode, and he started yelling about something. He said, "Where's Phil? Where's Phil?" And he'd crawl up that bank above our practice field. And he was sitting up there with his legs crossed, and he had flowers in his hair, and he had flowers all he just stuck towels, everything. Just like that.
That seems like Phil.
I said, "There's your offensive coordinator. They're right there."
Right.
Yeah, I'm sure they're a lot funnier.
Oh my gosh.
Well, God bless Phil, and
And he said,
rest in peace. Absolutely. Well,
Yeah, man.
we'll wrap it up.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here, Rick.
"All right, meantime, let's sit around and shoot the breeze."
Absolutely.
I really appreciate it, man. There's a lot of great insights, and thanks so much.
I absolutely will.
I absolutely
I
will.
wish I had done more. So tell people where they can find this book.
You can get that on Amazon.com. I think you just plug my name in or the towel one, they'll come right up.
Okay.
Also, Claudia Bailey is selling her books at all of her stores in Burnsville.
Okay.
And I think she's getting ready to open one up in Spruce Pine, and we're going to do a little book signing. I'm going to be
Nice. Cool.
So we went to stop by and visit with her today. So
And we'll put a link down below in the description
Yes,
for this
we'll
video
link
to where
your
you can
actual
get the
book.
book. Yeah, for sure.
people want to order like multiple copies if they want to get this for theirs. Just let me know, and I can give you a really good deal on that. I can get the price direct deal for that.
Okay.
Awesome.
I really do, guys. Help me out with this. I'd like to get this in every education.
Absolutely.
I think it's a great read. It's a chance, like I said, to have some honest dialogue and see how we can make things safer, more nurturing school environment school that we're excited and looking forward to come to every day.
That's what we're all about. We may not be the smartest dialogue, but by God, we're real.
That's right.
We just talk.
That's right. Yeah,
Thank
absolutely.
you. Thank you so much.
Well, take us away, Josh.
All right, everybody, please like this video if you like what we do here. You could, maybe become a patron. It's $5 a month. It really helps us out.
I'm joining today.
Awesome. It really does. I mean, this does cost money to produce these episodes, and any support we get from y'all goes straight right back into this podcast. You can find us all over the internet at The World Unwrapped. We're on, I say all over the internet. We're on Facebook right now, but we will have a Twitter or an X soon. Share this video out far and wide. The best thing you can do, though, is subscribe to the channel. If you haven't already, we are this close to getting monetized on YouTube. So we really need the subscriptions. It doesn't cost a thing. Just make a Google account, sign into YouTube, hit the subscribe, hit the notification bell, then you'll get a notification every time we upload or go live. We're kind of doing a mixed bag right now of live streams and pre-recorded stuff, but
You'll have a set time.
yes.
Usually at Thursdays at about 7 o'clock.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Thursdays between 7 and 8, depending on what YouTube and my internet connection feels like it's doing.
Gotta love Zito.
Yeah, I have another bone to pick with them, but we love you all. Thanks for watching.
Thanks, guys.
Adios.